think Charlie was a real friend and he would not have dropped it. He would not have let it go, least of all because he was being emotionally manipulated by a guy who curiously kept his mouth shut when Bibi lied. You knew, if you were really his close friend and pastor, how he was feeling about Bibi Netanyahu. You knew, if you were his close friend and pastor, exactly the names of everybody who was intimidating him.
So Candace claims to be, a Christian, devout to God, a lover, an understander, somebody who's really, the Bible is her thing. And you would think that one of the basics of being a God-fearing person is to respect the people who serve God, like a pastor, for example. You all saw the statement yesterday from the pastor. We posted about it, we spoke about it, and him saying, Candace, show Charlie a little bit of respect, you embarrassing human being. And this is her response.
Lastly, I want to say to this new flex operation mocking pastor, regarding which, by the way, the first time they went after Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, a source told me, and I would love to get this confirmed, I'm going to find this out, that $150 million was spent on that, and it came from Bibi Netanyahu.
By the way, if $150 billion was spent, it would be, proven somewhere because he's a government official. It would be written down somewhere. You can't just make $150 million disappear. It's not how it works in our country because we're a democracy. I know it's hard for people to understand that, but this is actually a democratic country that has systems and proofs and receipts.
I would like to figure out if that's true. But anyways, obviously investigating this, and I'm not going to let it go, okay? You're not going to emotionally use some jujitsu, and I'm referring here to Roy or Rob McCoy, who says, I'm Charlie's pastor, and here's the truth, or whatever it is, to look the other way right now, okay? You're not going to tell me that I have to feel too bad to investigate who shot my friend in front of...
No one's telling you to stop investigating who shot your friend. They're just telling you to stop making it about the Zionists and the Jews and to stop lying to millions and millions of people, manipulating them into anti-Semitic tropes in the name of Charlie, when actually it's just about Candace getting the things that she wants, about Candace getting all these people to hate on her enemies. That's what they're actually telling you to do. They're telling you to shut up and take a backseat and wait. And if you want to investigate the FBI, great, do it, but do it recordedly and with respect. Just, that's what they're asking. That's all they're saying, literally.
My face. So stop the nonsense. This is what Charlie's pastor passed around to all of the people that were intimidating Charlie leading up to his death. It's funny that Charlie's pastor couldn't find his voice when Bibi Netanyahu was lying about Charlie. Here's pastor.
Guess what? Not everybody seems to think that Bibi Netanyahu was lying about Charlie. And more importantly, it was actually quite a big deal that a prime minister of a different country cared so much about Charlie that they were willing to make a statement about it. And there were a few prime ministers that did it. But I was saying that a lot of people were like, wow, Charlie's an amazing person. And that could have been the caveat on the lane that you went down. Like, oh my gosh, Charlie was respected. But no, you decided to make this entire thing about Bibi's lies. That's what you decided to do, to focus in. And guess what? Maybe some people out there didn't think that was a great way to be remembering Charlie right now. He hasn't even been dead like a week. And you've decided that's what this should be about, how Bibi lies. Yeah, surprise, surprise. Some people might not think that that's the most agreeable and, correct way to deal with stuff. Specifically, a person of God.
You know what he's saying are lies. No, he didn't find his voice saying anything about Netanyahu. Candace investigating things? Yeah, that's got to stop. Here's what he wrote, okay? What's his name? Rob McCoy. He wrote, Charlie Kirk was my friend and I was his pastor. I want to simply say this regarding Candace Owens. Charlie Kirk was a friend to Candace and never publicly spoke poorly of her, though he disagreed with her. He never operated nor entertained gossip or innuendo concerning Candace. My only comment I offer regarding Candace is this. I only wish at this tragic time of mourning, she would be the friend to Charlie Kirk that he was to her. He would never have treated Candace or her family in such a way had, God forbid, this tragedy been hers. A friend loves at all times, and he drops a biblical proverb. Now, let me say this, okay?
Let me guess, you're about to intimidate and use an emotional reaction to this instead of actually thinking to yourself, wait, maybe he's correct.
Hope that Charlie would have been the sort of friend that I'm being. Okay? He would have never... Why? Why wouldn't Charlie Kirk have investigated if I had been killed and we were being so obviously lied to?
No one's talking about the investigation, you daft twat. They're talking about you making this about you instead of focusing actually on Charlie and his legacy. That's what they're talking about.
I think you're wrong. I think Charlie was a real friend and he would not have dropped it. He would not have let it go, least of all because he was being emotionally manipulated by a guy who curiously kept his mouth shut when Bibi lied. You knew, if you were really his close friend and pastor, how he was feeling about Bibi Netanyahu. You knew, if you were his close friend and pastor, exactly the names of everybody who was intimidating him. and how poorly they are misrepresenting the things that he believed. So why don't you focus on being more honest as a pastor and giving as much information as you can possibly provide so that we can continue this investigation. If you can't do this, I'm going to have to ask for your silence. Okay? Be quiet.
That's a super respectful way to talk to a pastor, I have to say. Like, wow, that just really, that shows how wonderfully nice Candace is. It really shows, and also shows why she wasn't friends with Charlie at the end. It's so ironic for her to be like, you're his friend, you were his friend, you were there at the end of the days, you know all the things that I know, but you weren't there, Candace. We can call your number. You weren't there. You don't actually know. You have people telling you, and you haven't been able to provide any sort of evidence. You have people telling you what's going on behind the scenes, and yet most of the people online are actually saying you were wrong. You weren't there. You weren't his friend. That hurts you. It makes you feel uncomfortable. And you've discovered a way to monetize this. And now you're coming after a pastor because the person of God makes you feel a little bit, a little bit not it. Unfortunate for you, Candace, but everyone can see what you're doing. Everyone.